Well, good afternoon, everybody. How are you faring today? Whew. It's another smoky day here in Lebanon. The fog mixed in with it as we are still waiting for the wildfire smoke and ash to get pushed out by that west breeze and the marine air. I know we're all eager for that to happen so we can get our blue skies. It's not every day Oregonians pray for rain, but we sure do love that rain and we know how important it is. We know we can get pretty grumbly about it, but we miss it right now. While we're waiting for that, during the month of September, the Lebanon Senior Center has been working with seniors and providing information and encouraging everyone to take a look at their preparedness in case of emergency. It's just by coincidence that the wildfire season really seemed to take off and get a little too close for comfort in our area, in our region, well, pretty much the whole West Coast at that time. But, it is giving us an opportunity and definite reasons to have these conversations and make it a little bit more personal, make it, just feel little bit more a part of our reality that we need to be prepared in case disaster strikes. Now, I've been getting some questions about, what to pack and the types of things that you can use and do. One of the specific areas has been those perishable food items. I guess there are some tips and tricks, so I thought we'd actually use our cooking demo time today to actually look at that. If you were looking forward to another Garden Bounty video, don't worry. I'm actually going to film another one today. We'll just use that next Wednesday. I'm not wearing the same shirt 2 weeks in a row, I promise. It'll be just holding off on sharing that one until next week. And yeah, we're going to focus on some things that really aren't fresh and organic today. Not at all. That is one of the realities when we talk about packing food for an emergency situation. You actually want to use non-perishable food items. So that's not going to be the fresh produce from the garden. It's not going to stick around. It's not going to be sustainable. Really hard to pack and keep from mushing all over your stuff. Try to pack a banana, alongside the pots, pans, cucumbers, and things, and things are going to get squished and beat up pretty badly. And trying to keep fresh meats and things, or even frozen meats, at the proper temperatures for food safety would be very difficult to do for an ongoing emergency situation. So we do need to look at non-perishable food items. When we say non-perishable, we're talking about things that are shelf stable and can be stored for long periods of time without refrigeration or any special handling things. Those would be like our canned goods, our canned soups, our canned chilies, canned fruit, canned vegetables, canned milk. Ugh, I know. Those are those type of things. It also can mean your boxed foods, things of that nature. You can also keep in mind some dried goods as well, dried beans, grains, and that sort of a thing. So I thought we'd just talk a little bit about those today, because just because you grab all these canned things doesn't mean you know what to do with them either. So we'll talk about some tips and tricks today. I also think this would be a great opportunity for you to share your thoughts in the comments, things that you like to pack in your emergency kit. Maybe share why. For me, I always have to put at least a chocolate bar in there. It's a morale booster. It's also a little instant energy when I need it. But it's a comfort item too. So some tea bags and a bar of chocolate are always in my emergency kit. I will admit it. And so that's another good thought to keep. If you aren't going to want to eat it outside of an emergency, you might need to think if you really want to pack it, in your emergency kit. If you don't like chili, you might want to find other things to pack besides chili. If you are allergic to nuts, don't pack nuts in your emergency kit. All you are going to do is carry around things you're not going to want to eat or may cause another emergency in the case of someone who has an allergic reaction and tries to eat something they shouldn't. So definitely keep that in mind. Try to do things that you would want to eat outside of emergency or inside of emergency, or when an emergency happens. You'll be happier about it. Why make yourself even more miserable in an emergency by eating things you don't like? And I know worst comes to worst, you can't be picky because food is food when it comes to an emergency. But if there is a choice to be had beforehand, why not plan accordingly? Um, so let's go. Oh, the other part about that I wanted to bring up is because you need to rotate things through. You need to watch those expiration dates. When you're purchasing things for an emergency kit or starting to work on having extra supplies on hand in case of an emergency, watch those expiration dates. Save yourself the hassle. Try not to buy things that are already close to an expiration date. Look for items that are further out so they last longer, so they'll be there for you when you need them. Because you also need to think about rotating them out. As those expiration dates get closer, you need to make sure you're using those things. You got to buy new to put that in there and move what's in the emergency kit out and use it. So again, if you don't like to eat it when it's not an emergency, when those things come to expire, what are you going to do with them? That's a lot of financial waste if you don't plan on using them. You can certainly look at if there's things that are really questionable. Like I have evaporated milk in my kit. I don't really like it. If it starts to get close to coming to an expiration date, I'll usually donate it to a food pantry. So maybe those that can use it will be able to, and I'll get a new can. But if I had to do that with every item, that would be a huge hit economically. It's much easier to buy a new can of pineapple, put that in the emergency kit, and take the can of pineapple out of the kit and eat that or use that in a recipe. So have a rotation plan in place. Keep track of those expiration dates, whether it's having a specific date every 3 months to go through and double check your kit, or writing them down on a list so you can do a quick reference to see what's coming due and what you need to replace and rotate out. So eat things that plan to eat things that you're going to want to eat. Check expiration dates, plan on rotating them out. And of course, it needs to be things that you can cook. One of the things that often happen in an emergency situation is you might not have access to power or the supplies you usually have. So if you are going to be without power for a while, that changes how you cook. You do need to have a plan in place to be able to eat items cold, have things with you with no power at all, quick things, good quality granola bars or energy packs with nuts and dried fruit in them are a good thing to have on hand. You can even make your own, buy some things in bulk and put them together in your own pouches, sealed up in baggies, and then maybe put in a gallon-sized bag just to double up that safety, or use one of the air sealer vacuum sealing machines would be a good idea as well. Those can be a good idea to make your own if you do have allergies because you can control what is being put into those products. Not all granola bars are created the same. I would definitely encourage people to do protein, bars or really good quality if you can, because if this is what you have to rely on in an emergency, you want to try to make the nutrition count the best you can. There's going to be a lull in what you can intake nutritionally in an emergency, and you're just going to have to give yourself grace. If you're used to a strict diet and are really health conscious, you got to work with what you can. But again, it's one of those situations where what you pick ahead of time, hey, buy that box of a little bit more expensive but higher quality ingredients, a little more nutrient value bars, and keep them aside, until that expiration date comes to you, just to have on hand. So if you really need to rely on it, you can. The other thing would be to have alternative methods of cooking. So if you are going to need to do some cooking without having electricity, maybe not being at home, or if you have to evacuate quickly, you want to have some cooking sources you can take with you on the go. Today I didn't have an example of that here at the center, so I'm pretending this is my cooking surface. This one does require electricity. It's a portable burner. In my kit at home, I have a camp stove that's powered by propane, those little propane cylinders, and that's one of the items that I have in case of an emergency. I also have some individual camp stoves. They're these little collapsible things. They're super tiny. That I have one in my go bag, as well as a metal tin cup I can use to put over that for cooking. It's more like cooking for one, but it would be something in an absolute emergency if I had nothing else. My double camp stove is kind of my go-to. Even for those who have grills, either charcoal or propane barbecue grills, any kind of grill that doesn't run on electricity, you can certainly think about using that in an emergency or a power outage when you're home. Those might be things that are harder to pack, depending on what time frame you have if you were needing to evacuate. So keep those in mind as well as sources of possible being able to cook on. I'm a big barbecue lover. I love to grill. So definitely, if that's an option, use it. You can do packet foods. There's all kinds of foods you can do on a grill. So that's definitely a good option. If you are using a portable stove, again, not using that inside. That's something I would use outside. But that's a quick way to be able to cook. But you've got to keep in mind that you would need a pot or a pan. You would need some kitchen utensils. If you've got all those canned goods and you have no power, you need to make sure you have a manual can opener, not an electric one. So when you're thinking about the food you want to prepare, think about what you would need to cook those things. That's an important thing. So even if you have the perishable goods packed up and your emergency kit to go in case of emergency, make sure you have items in there so you can prepare the foods in case of an emergency. One of the ways you can do that is come up with some recipes, or as you don't just buy random canned goods. Think about how you would use them, how you would prepare them, and then you would have those things together, knowing you would have all the items you need to prepare those recipes, those combinations of ingredients that you have on hand. I'm going to walk you through one today that I would do. This is the actual demo part. Coming up, but real quick, I was going to share some examples. So just grabbed a couple of things that are shelf stable and certainly make great additions to an emergency kit. Think about the different meals of the day. Think about lunch, breakfast, dinner, snacks. So breakfast, quick and easy ones, cereals are super easy, but I kind of like the instant oatmeal packs because you can certainly add things to them to change flavors. If you're in an extended emergency for a couple of weeks, eating the same thing every morning for breakfast could be quite mundane. So it's pretty easy to change the flavors in oatmeal. You could add cinnamon one day, cinnamon sugar one day. You could do different dried fruits to add in, different fruits and nuts. Throw a couple of pieces of chocolate in there, whatever. You can change up the flavor of oatmeal. Also get some good fiber in you, and it's kind of filling. So that's a great alternative, and you don't necessarily have to have milk in them. It's how I would prefer to have it when I was making it home with my raw rolled oats, but in a pinch, you just need a little hot water. So you just boil a little water on your camp stove or however you're boiling water, and that can be a quick breakfast, super easy to change up and add protein or fruit to. If you've got lunches and things, of course, crackers, bread, and peanut butter are always a staple around our household, but there's a lot of other fun things you can do as well. Those soups and chilies can come in hand, and you can certainly do other packaged items as well. So when it comes to lunch and dinner, those kind of go back and forth as what they can be. A lot of the similar things you could do for either one. So I'm just going to kind of talk about them as a lump grouping. So there's certainly all those canned soups and chilies you can do. There's a lot of packaged and boxed things you can do. Quick cook mac and cheese, quick cook, all those kind of things that you can, kind of instant prepared, instant mashed potatoes, are all viable choices that you can have in your kit. Now, some people think, I get really tired of chili and canned soup. Well, guess what? You can get a little, quirkier and a little more exotic Just check out the shelves as you're going through the grocery store and look at some of the meal kits they have prepared to go. I saw this one. I thought it was pretty cool. So this is a chow mein noodle meal kit. So it pretty much has everything in here. You just need a little bit of oil, some chicken, and if you want to add vegetables, you can certainly add vegetables. You have them on hand. These can be some of your canned vegetables, some canned peas or carrots, if, or whatever kind of vegetables you thought would sound good in this. If you had fresh you need to use up, you can certainly do that fairly quickly and add those to this kit. You just have to. There's some noodles in here. And they're really squishy. It's kind of cool. So they're already cooked noodles. You just have to rinse them in warm water and drain. You just got to heat some oil in the skillet. This says cook the chicken. Of course, if you're cooking the chicken, theoretically, that would be an ideal situation at home in your kitchen. An emergency situation, you might have the can of chicken. That's what I got right here. This canned chicken that I've drained. And then you would add, so the chicken, I would go ahead and add the chicken even though it's cooked, the oil just to, get it warmed up and start getting some kind of a cooked texture to it instead of the canned texture. You toss in your vegetables and you put in, there's a lovely little seasoning packet right here that you pop in there and then add the noodles into the pan. And 3 minutes later, you've got chow mein noodles. That would be super easy to do and really fast. And definitely a slightly different flavor palette than you might have with some of those other canned food items. So that might be a fun thing to try or think about. I'm always a big proponent of these already cooked rice packets. Usually you warm them up in the microwave, but you can certainly use them in the skillet. I'm actually going to show you this one with our can of chicken. Then when it comes to snacks, that's a pretty easy one to grab. Dried fruit, nuts, seeds, granola bars. If you need a little sweet tooth, some individual packages of cookies or crackers. Remember, those little pudding cups or things can be little things just to kind of help alleviate the stress of a situation, or a favorite kind of candy. And don't forget, if you're a coffee nut, you better have some instant coffee in there, instant coffee, instant cocoa, or tea. Just those things that kind of help you stay charged and give you a little bit of creature comfort. All right, let's get our seeds out of the way. And the oatmeal wants to stay behind. All right. So far as and this is one of those things where if you had canned vegetables, you could certainly add some vegetables to it. I'm just going to keep it super simple today. So we're pretending this is our propane burner. We've got that going on. I'm going to put it on medium. Let it start hanging out. I am a big fan of these already cooked rice packets that you can find over in the rice section of any grocery store. They're pretty common to find now. They come in different flavors. Again, this one is actually not just rice. This is actually quinoa and brown and red rice. Again, if I was thinking about food prep and trying to stay healthy and give myself, the nutrients I might need when it's harder to be healthy in an emergency situation, picking something like the quinoa over a plain white rice might be a quick way to do that. And again, I went with 100% natural breast chicken, just trying to pack some nutrients in there where I can. I'm one of those people that questions canned goods anyway. They're full of salt and all kinds of things you probably shouldn't be eating. So you just try to be healthy as you can when we're talking about emergency prep food. Okay, and I'm going to cheat because I can. So I'm going to knock in a little butter. Let's just say this was one of the first days after emergency period, and I still had some butter. You can certainly do oil as well. I'm a big fan of the combination of a little bit of butter to be good, to get the flavor, and a little bit of oil to make yourself a little bit more health conscious and feel better. Oh, helps if I hit start. Gotta remember how to use the tools. Oh, another important trick, if you're gonna get a fun gadget like a camp stove, make sure you try to use it a couple of times before an emergency. No, make sure you know how to use your manual can opener if you don't use one regularly. Um, don't put, things in your emergency kit that you don't know how to use. If you are needing something where you're going to have to make fire, don't just buy the flint and steel. Learn how to use it. Learn how to make that fire with the tools you're purchasing so that you're comfortable with them. It's, during an emergency situation, you're already going to be stressed out. It's really hard to learn a new skill, and you can get super frustrated trying to use things that you don't know how to use in probably less than desirable conditions. So have some fun with it. Make sure you know how to use your water filter. Make sure you know how to use your camp stove, or if you're getting the ones that have the little gel warmers, sterno cookers, things like that. Make sure you know how to use all of those before the emergency happens. So I had already opened the can of chicken. I'm just going to use this little spoon I've got here to break up that chicken a little bit. I am putting it right in the skillet. Oh, I did drain the chicken. So when I opened it, I did drain the juices out of there. And I crack up. It's, canned meat is never the most delicious looking thing in the world. But we're just heating it up here a little bit. So you might have been seeing me massaging and breaking up the rice. It just helps it not be so chunky when you open it. Should say rice and quinoa. So the rice and quinoa, as I said, it is already cooked. Pretty much it's just a little cold. So I'm just going to add that right in there as well. And it's a time to play, break up the chunks. Like a version of whack-a-mole. Don't do this when you're too stressed out. Sometimes you shoot the stuff right out of the pan. You wouldn't want to do that. And if you've watched, if you've been to some of our cooking demos at the Senior Center before, you've seen me do this similar recipe before with some instant rice in a bag, different flavor, different combination. But I use like rotisserie chicken, or we cook the chicken ourselves. So again, this is a type of technique and a type of recipe that I'm comfortable with, and I would actually do outside of an emergency situation. All right. So kind of basic and bland. We've got chicken and we've got a rice. We've got some oil and butter in our dish, and we can just use an olive oil as well. This is where you get to mix it up a little bit, adding some flavors. Something I might have in my kit. I love citrus flavors, so one of these weird little containers of lime or lemon. Salt and pepper are always a must. Some dried seasonings are important to add in there. So today, though, I did actually have some fresh. So I'm going to, first up, we would use our perishable foods in emergency because they might not keep. So I have a little cilantro, and I need some of it for the recipe later or next week. But I'm also going to use this lime today. So whether it's a fresh lime or whether it's, lime out of a squeeze container, way. There we go. First half. Second half I got a little more excited with. I kind of went flying there for a second. Lime. And then we'll put our limes in there. Go ahead and chop up just a little of this fresh cilantro. Again, you can use dried herbs as well. That's what I would probably actually have in my emergency kit. But today, are using a little bit of the fresh because we had it. And just a reminder to use those fresh perishable items first in emergency. There we go. So just a matter of minutes here and real quickly prepared. We have some quinoa and brown red rice with chicken, lime, and cilantro. I mean, that almost sounds like some hoity-toity you find at a nice fancy restaurant or something. But you can have it during an emergency. Just a healthy, quick dish to have. You know, you saw that's so little to pack. One packet of rice, chicken. You know, you can have the lime or your seasoning packet there on hand to use. Of course, you can add some salt and pepper. I would caution you to watch the salt and how freely you add it in some of your food prep stuff, because a lot of those prepackaged items have a lot of salt content. And if you're watching your salt intake, if you've got a heart condition or are concerned about dehydration in an emergency situation, adding more salt is just going to make those issues worse for you. So definitely watch adding extra salt, but definitely have it on hand just in case. One of the other fun tools I like to have on, we talked about tools that are packable and portable and remembering to take with you. Obviously, I just used a little knife. I like to have these. These are fun little paring knives, but they come with a guard for the blade. So when you're thinking about packing all these tools, I don't want to slide it in here and show you, but this goes in here until I wipe it off. But having them so they store themselves very well, you don't want loose knives floating around your pack stuff in an emergency. Obviously, if they've got some way to be sealed up or concealed, make sure that you're keeping those safe. So you might want to get a little box to put your utensils in so forks aren't poking plastic bags and you aren't having a big mess. One of the other tips and tricks is to watch cardboard packaging. So if you've got like macaroni and cheese type things, you might just want to watch those. Those are easier for bugs to get into. If you've already in a evac situation and needed to leave home, think about food storage, how you're going to keep it safe. This is Oregon, and it's dry right now. We're praying for rain, but that's not always the case. So a lot of the year it's really rainy, really wet. Cardboard packaging wouldn't hand up too well in the outdoors or in the rain. So I like to stick to the tin cans or some of the plastic packaging, or if I do have cardboard box scenarios, trying to keep those inside a plastic container to keep them safe, away from bugs, away from other animals, away from things that would deteriorate the quality of that product. All right, so it's all done and heated up. So that is our quinoa and rice with chicken, lime, and cilantro. That is what would be at a state of emergency here today at the senior center. Well, we're so glad not to be in an emergency situation or having to evac. Another big shout out to all the emergency service workers, the sheriff's office, the fire department, all the fire crews from around the state, the Lebanon Police Department, and all of our great community members who are working so hard to keep our community safe from all kinds of situations all the time. We love you. Take care. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm going to try to share the links in the comments below. But we were talking about recipes. So this is a quick recipe. Requires just, 2 real big ingredients and a couple of reusable items out of an emergency prep kit. But maybe you've got a favorite emergency recipe that doesn't require a whole lot, really easy to put together in not favorable conditions. You can share that. But I also found 2 emergency preparedness cookbooks. Can't say I would adopt all the recipes, but if you need to get some ideas, Google it. Google, recipe, disaster preparedness recipes. This one is the Houston Emergency Preparedness Cookbook. It's pretty thick. There's a bunch of different recipes in here. It's kind of cool because it talks about, the difference between grilling or using stoves to prepare in emergency situations. And then this one's kind of fun too. recipes for a disaster. Hopefully the food doesn't come out a disaster. But they talk about all these different things you can make with shelf-stable food items. So if you need some ideas, if this isn't the normal way that you cook, definitely do a little more research, find those recipes, and let those kind of guide you in what you choose to purchase to buy for your emergency preparedness kit. And again, I will try to put these links in the comments below. All right, you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.